That's a 80 Paydex. So you need 5 to 8 trade lines in order to have an 80 Paydex. This is a person. It has a credit score, it has a rating and everything just like you.
Right.
So if you pay your bills on time, that's like an 800 credit score, an 80 Paydex. They call it a Paydex score for business. So if you pay your bills on time, you get an 80 Paydex. That's what we want to achieve.
Right.
When you check Experian or Dun and Brad or Nav, check your report, which you should always check.
Yeah.
You want an 80 Paydex. It takes 5 to 8 trade lines usually, and paying your bills on time to acquire an 80 Paydex. Now the bank loves it.
So on the business, so for instance, let's say if it's primaries, you get basically 8 primaries placed on your business if possible. You basically say
5 to 8. But
Okay.
you know what they teach you on the internet?
Yeah.
They say, oh, you could do non-PG funding. And everybody says, ooh, because they know a little bit. And they say, go in and get a Euroline.
Right.
Go in and get a Quill. Go and get an interstate battery. Get 5 or 8 of those. And now you look good. You got your 80 Paydex, so the bank gonna love you. But I know banking.
Right.
Who the hell gonna give you $100,000 because you got a $50 quill?
Exactly.
Nobody.
For sure.
Nobody. All right,
sure.
you got a $50 quill.
I feel like it's better to basically buy the like age primaries that's with limits of like 500,000 or something like that, right?
I think it's better. The first thing is to go in and fund as a PG first.
Right.
So you get $25,000, $30,000, maybe a $50,000 revolving line.
All secure.
Also, right.
Okay.
Right. Unsecured. Credit cards. When you're a PG, you're going to get credit cards first.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so now you get $25,000 from Chase, or another 100, another 20, 225 from Chase, another 25 from American Express. You get 2 cards from them. By the time you finish, you should go in and get yourself about 150,000. Then cool out. Don't keep going, because online they teach you credit card stacking. If you do credit card stacking, the bank is going to see, why is this person getting credit so fast?
Right.
So you got to stop after 150 down, and then let it hit your credit report. That's called a tranche. So once it hits your credit, that takes about 3 weeks to a month and a half. Once it hits your business credit report, now the bank sees that you paid the bill, they get more relaxed. Now it's time to go in again. And now you go in and get your credit unions and go in and get your community banks. The community bank has more money than anybody, pretty much, because they got the same amount of money, but they only lend to a small community.
Right.
So they cup runneth over. So now you got your corporation, but they only lend, if you're in Texas, your corp's in Texas, but the community bank you want to borrow from, because you done check credit boards.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And you see everybody's talking about, I got this much money from Chase. I got this much money. That's what they do on credit boards. Right? So you go in and look and say, oh, this community bank giving out money like crazy.
Yeah.
So they're in Florida though. But you can't go to Florida because your company domiciles, they call that living, where it lives. It domiciles in Texas. So what you want to do is you want to go file a foreign filing in Florida and say, I'm a foreigner. I want to do business in your state. Maybe $100. Now you live in that state. Now you can go to the community bank.
Wow.
And now the community bank is choo. So now when you get about, say, $300,000, $400,000, now you start leveraging, because you got some money to work with now.
Yeah.
So now you start doing your bond. You start doing your maybe your proof of funds. You start doing things like letters of intent. Now, say, for instance, you got a business.
Right.
I got a business. Why don't you work together? So I say, hey, brand man, you got your corp all set up and everything, right?
Yeah.
It's recognized through Dun and Brad and all that, right? Experian, Dun and Brad. You say, yeah. You say, well, I want to do business with you. Write me a letter that you're going to do business with me for $100,000. 200,000, don't go too crazy. And give me a letter of intent. And then when I go to borrow from the bank, I'm gonna say, I also got this letter of intent. They look at that as like money. Because now they're gonna say, oh, that helps you. And plus, do a relationship with the bank. When you open the bank, put a little bit of money in the bank account.
Right.
500,000, 100,000, 5,000, 1,000, whatever.
Yeah.
So then you have a relationship, they feel better. But when you give them those other pads to make them feel like, well, this guy's about to get a hold of some more money, so now we can lend them, we feel easier. In your business report,
Yeah.
let's say Experian, you have three things going on. You got your credit rating, your credit score, or they call it a Paydex score. We want an 80. That means you pay your bills on time. Over here is a circle. It's what they call like a rating. What's your rating? So you want that to be 1 to 2, right?
Yeah.
And then you have something that's called like where you're like you have a rating, and then you have like where you're how risky you are, like a risk factor.
Right.
So these two are rating, risk factor. That should be 1 to 2. Anything over that, now you're getting on risky. So you never, when you build your company, I'm gonna talk about that in a second, but when you build your company, you want to build it the way they want it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So you want your rating to be 1 to 2. You want your risk factor to be 1 to 2. You want your score to be like 80
Right.
or above, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna show you how to go get above. So now you go in, once you have that, you look really good. So if you pay your bills on time, then you put the money aside to pay the bill. So if you get $100,000, you take out $12,000, put it aside to service the loan.
Yep.
And now when the loan comes out, you're due on the 15th. If you paid on the 15th, that's an 80 Paydex score.
Okay.
5 to 8 trade lines is 80 Paydex score. If you pay the bill on the 10th before it's due, that's a 90 Paydex score.
Oh, damn.
If you pay the bill before it even comes out, that's a 91. You didn't pay, but why wouldn't you pay it before? Big companies do that. They don't teach us to do that. So you pay the bill before it comes out. Then guess what? You got a 91 Paydex. The banker's sitting on the beach talking about, give him some more money.